So as Rafat has already introduced me, my name is Angela. And what I've been asked to do today by Rafat and the leadership team at Lifescience Dynamics is to explore your employee experience. So I want you to be as open and honest as possible. We're looking at positive and negative feedback. Both are very valuable to this research. And there are no right or wrong answers. It's not a test. And today, in this group discussion, I'm not going to go round to each person and ask you each the same questions. I want it to be as interactive as possible. So I have got a list of topics that I need to go through with you. And hopefully we will cover them within about 60 to 80 minutes. And I am very aware that, Geeta, you need to leave towards the end of the discussion. Okay, so as you can see that we've got video recordings today, and you've all been asked if you're okay for that to happen. You've all agreed. And just so that you know, they will be used, or parts of them may be used in the recruitment of new people to the company. Okay, so that's the intention. So I want to start off then with the type of work that you do here at Lifescience Dynamics. So I know you all work in sort of slightly different areas, but can anyone tell me what would you say your time is spent on? And by asking that question, what I'm really trying to understand is, are you mainly involved in client work, or do you spend some of your time in line management or proposal writing, business development, or internal projects? You know, if you had to put a percentage against each of those different types of project areas, what would you say it would be? Who'd like to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, thank you.
I think it depends a little bit on the role that we are in. So one good thing about Lifescience Dynamics is that we are all very involved with the clients from day one. So even junior business analysts participate in calls with the clients. So it's not like just the project managers are there, but you are there from day one. And you're also free, to participate and ask questions. And for me, I'm a person that has grown in the company and has been like one key thing, because being exposed, to this from so early on, then it helps. Now that I PM project, I feel more confident because of that. So I would say that everyone has some sort of client exposure.
Okay.
Of course, project managers will have more client exposure than analysts. I think there is a good amount of time on the analyst side spent looking at alerts and doing our core secondary research. So maybe in a typical day, they come in, they switch on the computer and check their email, check their alerts, etc. While for the PM will be also check the emails and maybe review and send the alerts. So that's something that is on our everyday. And then, of course, as we progress with the role, we also have line manager responsibilities from the consultant plus. And then, of course, when you are a consultant, you might have one or two direct reports. And then, of course, as you go up, you will have more and more. So there is also time spent to that. Similar for internal initiatives, I think everyone spends some time, at least throughout the course of a year, into some internal initiatives. Depending on, again, your role, you might do some lunch and learns. This is something that we used to do quite often when we were in person, but I think Geeta can comment on that maybe, but she has done a good job keeping it up also in the virtual world, no?
Yeah, we usually do lunch and learns once a week, and we have a UK one and a US one, and I think it's quite important because it allows for knowledge share internally within the consulting team. We're all involved with various types of projects, and sometimes that information can get lost within the project. So I think it's a nice initiative to kind of share your learnings with the team.
Right. And is there anybody here in the group who isn't involved in project work?
I say I would.
So I thought you might say that.
Yeah.
I am. So why is that?
So I'm in HR, so I kind of deal with all of the administrative responsibilities outside of the analyst responsibilities. So majority of my time is spent on it's kind of like 10% on like different things during the day. So I'll either be doing recruitment, dealing with emails as they come in, onboarding new starters, IT, making sure that everyone is just generally okay and happy in the business. So it's kind of ad hoc as the requests come in, but then I'll have things to do during the day. So my time is split between loads of different projects.
Right, right. And who in this group would be or would have responsibilities as a line manager as well as doing project work? So how many? So that we're having quite a few nods.
Yeah.
Most of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say everyone except for Moyam and myself.
Okay. Okay.
So I think the way we work in Lifescience Dynamics, everybody who is becoming a consultant can become a line manager. I think this is one part of consultant work that people usually really look forward to because it's very exciting, it's something different. So I'm sure Aziza is one of the new consultants.
Yeah.
She has been promoted recently and she will become a line manager very soon. I remember very well my first time I was line manager, so it's definitely something that makes our work maybe more interesting and we can see ourselves in a completely different role versus project manager. So yeah, you start with one direct report, then up to maybe 5. So yeah, I think it's part that we usually really enjoy.
And how many of you would be involved in business development? And what do you think of that role for those who are involved in it?
I think everyone.
Sorry.
I think most of us are involved in business development. It could be from writing part of a proposal for the analysts to leading proposals and also getting those proposals in for people that are senior consultants and above. So we are all involved at a different level.
Right, right. And then in terms of the projects that Lifescience Dynamics deliver, what proportion would you say are strategic versus tactical?
What's the difference between strategic and...
as a strategy rather than looking at everyday sort of tactics? Do you look at the long term in terms of
our
projects?
Are 90% competitive intelligence, I would say, maybe a bit less depending on the year. But in that case, we help clients understand what's happening in one specific area.
Right.
And those projects usually they last 1 year. As I said, we take alerts, we monitor what's happening. We help them decide what to do in a specific therapeutic area. So I think that's both strategic and tactical.
Okay. So it's a combination. Would you all agree with that? That it seems to be a combination of strategic and tactical?
We have also a lot of like deep dives that are more tactical, I would say, or like the market research or market access project, they tend to be like more focused, or even competitive intelligence deep dive. But I think, maybe it's the training that Lifescience Dynamics gave us. I think we're still always looking at the overall strategy.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what the client is looking for, and we're always very flexible. We can even sign the RFP, start the project, and then if the client has some more tactical question or more strategic based on the research that we already provide, we may be flexible and looking to switch.
And to what extent do you interact with global headquarter clients versus sort of the local affiliates, or is it a combination of both?
I would say it's a combination of both. But usually we are involved with the main headquarters for big projects. And then, for example, we have some projects in market access in which sometimes we also deal with the affiliates.
Okay. Is that the same for most of you here today? Yeah. And in terms of the range of projects, I know you've all mentioned market research, competitor intelligence, market access. To what extent are you all involved in those 3 main types of projects? Or do any of you specialise in one area?
Well, competitive intelligence is our bread and butter, so everyone does it.
So that's for all of you. Yeah.
I think even HR knows how to do it.
Even HR. Okay.
And then there are people that specialize more, I think, in market access and market research. So Elena, for example, and Alberto, they have more experience in market access,
Right.
for instance.
And Kasia, maybe
And Kasia in
Market research.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I
So-
think if somebody has some particular interest, they're always welcome to do more market research or more market access projects. Of course, we will provide training if somebody is really keen to learn those type of projects. The majority of our projects is CI. So in occasion, if you really want to join market access or market research team, you may need to wait a couple of months until we actually get suitable project. But I think everybody who really wanted to participate in those projects had a chance.
Okay, so there is that opportunity
Yes.
there then.
And I think that's one of the biggest things here, that we are not separated into silos, but rather
Right.
Everyone can get that opportunity to work in these projects. And even, people who don't have the experience, at some point you can jump into these projects. And of course, we already have people with a lot of experience in the practice areas that lead these projects. But it's something that I guess if you want, you can get the experience for sure in any of these.
And it's true also for the therapy areas, not just for the practice area. Like if you have an interest in a particular disease or therapy areas, you can speak up. And like, I love neuroscience and I got to do a lot of it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. And so within market research, what would you say are your bread and butter projects for that particular type?
I think one of the projects that we really love and we're really excited about are projects using our proprietary tool, iAdboard. So those projects run typically for a month or up to 2 months. They're very short projects. We use a panel of HCPs or patients or payers as well to use our online platform to answer our questionnaire. It's a very nice tool that we're very proud of. We built it in-house, so we just always try to see if there's opportunity to use it on market research projects.
Okay. And the same for competitor intelligence. What are the types of projects that you mainly tend to get involved in that area?
So we typically kind of have two main categories, which is the monitoring projects. And these are long-term projects, typically a year, where the idea is to monitor a space. And the other type will be deep dives, which is just short projects in which we just try to answer some very key questions. I will say most of the projects fall into those two categories. And then we have projects in which, of course, the type of deep dive is different. So depending on the question from the client, we can do secondary research only, or we can do primary research. Monitoring projects involve most of the times a mix of both. But beyond that, we cover a range of different diseases, different therapeutic areas. We support programs for one drug or maybe for multiple drugs for our clients. But generally speaking, those two will be the two main categories of projects.
Okay.
Another aspect with
No, we support products at different stages.
Yeah.
And that also completely change how you're looking at the project. Because if you're looking at a project that has a lot of assets in the clinic, it's like a typical monitoring, but sometimes we have projects with assets that have been in the market even for 20 years, and those are like really interesting because you look at the commercial side of things way more. So they do vary quite a bit, I would say.
And again, for market access projects, what are the main types of projects that you'd get involved within that area?
So usually for market access, we try to help our clients, pharma companies, to get in one particular geography or country. So try to get those drugs or vaccines or assets approved, recommended and reimbursed.
Excellent. So, and again, this is for anyone to answer. What type of projects do you find most exciting?
Something that is challenging.
Something that's challenging.
Yeah.
Okay, what makes something challenging? And give me an example.
I would say a therapeutic area with many different players in the market, and it could be drugs that are approved or in phase 3 development with different mechanism of actions, different messagings around them. in which they are playing with guidelines and things like that. I think those are the ones that I enjoy the most.
And is that in the market access arena or the competitor intelligence arena or the market research? Could be any. Okay. And what about you, Aziza?
I would agree with Elena, yeah. Something that's dynamic and stimulating. So it varies between different disease areas. Some are much more active than others. So, for example, some cancers are quite active. COVID-19 is a really big space. Some big diseases, like lung cancer particularly, is quite active there. So anything that has a lot of movement in it, I personally find really interesting.
Right.
Yeah. I think the cool thing about the field is biopharma is constantly innovating and changing, right? So a lot of the time that we're on a project and we're monitoring a treatment area, we're seeing things happen for the first time, right?
Yeah.
And you're seeing things that perhaps government agencies aren't encountering, new data that's coming out, new treatments, and you're seeing these emerge through development and eventually into the market where they're making an impact on patients' lives, and you're seeing data over the years of cancer patients living for longer and diseases being functionally cured through gene therapy, and it's just you become numb to it sometimes, where you're just reading something and you say it to somebody who doesn't work in the industry and they're like blown away by it, and you're like, I guess that's quite amazing.
And how does that make you feel working in this sort of environment then?
It's extremely exciting. It makes me think that if I'm in this now and it's 2022 and I remain in this industry for the next say few decades, what's it going to look like in 30 years? If I stick around and see that trajectory, think of just the change that we're going to see, all of us, in our lifetimes. And then we can look back onto now and think, when we first started in the industry, this is what it was like. And just to see that change, in the world in healthcare and what the impact it will be.
So how do you think clients benefit from the work that you do here at Lifescience Dynamics?
Well, they're entering into normally a very dynamic and complex area. These days, every treatment area is becoming increasingly precise and individual in terms of, can be down to a person's genetic profile. And so it's becoming quite personalized medicine in a lot of areas and very innovative. And so we provide them with sort of the knowledge that they can use for their own strategy for when they eventually enter this space. And so they understand sort of the various dynamics that exist on a sort of a marketing level, or it could be a scientific level. And because of our backgrounds in, lots of science and economics, we're able to provide a broad range of knowledge to them.
Yeah, we typically think of ourselves as an extension of their team. So we want to be their partners. We don't want to be simple vendors. I think the main thing we provide is advice, recommendation, insights. A lot of time they will have also their internal assumption and maybe even some internal people doing similar things to what we do. So maybe they just need to validate their thinking. We help them across the board, as Adam was saying, to make the best decision for their business.
Great. And on a typical project, how is the team organised between staff from different offices, such as, I understand you've got offices in New York, Boston, Toronto, San Francisco. Tell me a little bit about that.
So we all work together. We don't have different teams in each office. So we work together in projects, but we use the time difference to our advantage. So for example, I have a project that is quite busy, and I ask somebody in San Francisco to check what's happening when I am not working. So then when I wake up, I start and I have everything until 6 o'clock my time already there.
And what are the advantages of working in these different teams?
It's way more time efficient because we work around the clock. Also, we help clients that they need a real-time alert service. So this helps a lot because we have very few hours in which we are not working.
And how well would you say you all communicate with each other?
Yeah, I think internal communication is one of our strengths, actually. We are on Teams 24 hours almost, checking messages and helping each other.
And do you feel that you make each other's ideas and thoughts welcome and appreciated, coming from different parts of the globe?
Absolutely, because I think this is the type of work that is true teamwork. So in this type of job, there's no one who, as a sole person, can deliver the whole project. So this is really where everyone has to input to deliver on a project. So we actually encourage people to really bring their ideas in each of these projects. So I think this is the best example of teamwork. And of course, someone is leading the project, but in the end, we need everyone to chip in to really put together our deliverables for the client. So this is really the best example of where a platform where everyone can collaborate and really put their ideas into.
That's something I found when I was an analyst when I joined is that you work, there's sort of a flat hierarchy within the team, and you really find that immediately starting on a project, you're allowed to pitch your own ideas, and it's not just perhaps in a traditional consultancy where you would just be an analyst and you'd be given work and that's what you do. In this case, there's very a thought process and a collaborative process to the project, and you don't really see these sort of hierarchies that you might at other firms. It is, as Alberta said, a true team process.
And so to what extent do you feel that your ideas and thoughts are welcome and appreciated in that sort of team approach?
Well, when you start off, I mean, for your development within the company, consultants or lead analysts are always pushing you to, provide good work to them that they, don't need to add to a lot, that they can just read through. And so that's encouraged through, providing your own thoughts on the ideas, really developing your own ideas within the space, and sort of coming up with new, because the industry is constantly changing and innovating. There's new information and data coming out. It's using that new data that you maybe saw last week and integrating it into a new piece of news that you're reading this week. And in doing so, helps everyone on the team see new ideas and to integrate them into their thought process moving forward. And so that's encouraged right off the bat as soon as you start on a project, I would say.
And not only on projects. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say not just on projects, even outside of project work. So we've got the steering committee, for example, and that's basically a committee that's represented by people from all across the company, so from JBAs up to engagement manager. And it's just a chance for us to come together. We meet every month. We bring forward opinions, suggestions, ideas from the rest of the company, discuss them, and then we take them upwards towards the senior leadership team. So there's a chance for everyone to be heard, and it's not just on the project level.
Excellent. And so how does the leadership team recognise and reward good work?
Well,
listening.
I think first of all, like a lot of the ideas that came from the team have actually happened. We created them. Like the latest one is this dynamics tracker that we have that one of our people proposed and developed, and we are all using now to track all the clinical trials, and it's actually a big time saving for all of us. So I think the first reward is that you're not just heard, like then things actually happened. And then, yes, there is also a system of benefit. Like, for example, our president, Rafat, has the opportunity to give president bonus. So if someone does something exceptionally great, you might receive one of that. So we also have a reward system in that sense.
And what do you think of that reward system? I understand, there is that president's bonus. There may be variable bonus or maybe promotion or public acknowledgement within the team for the work that you've done. What do you think about those various reward systems?
I think in terms of the reward systems, it's kind of made with the fairest decision possible. So we'll sit down and we'll kind of get the opinions of all the line managers, all of the BAs, kind of look at all the feedback in general, and then kind of use that to make a decision in terms of promotions, salary adjustments, obviously with the business in mind. And if, for example, we can't offer everyone a promotion, we'll make sure that we recognize that hard work so people can feel seen and they can feel acknowledged in their role. So we make sure that the feedback process is quite a lengthy process. Although it is quite long, it is giving everyone the attention and the kind of appreciation that they deserve.
And to what extent do you feel that the firm has a culture of giving credit where credit is due? Or do you think there is a culture here of taking credit for someone else's work?
I think it's absolutely like giving credit in sometimes in very simple things, like saying like, we just delivered this project and the client received it very well. So there is an email that goes to everyone. And it might not be an immediate reward that you get, but it's that acknowledgement that you contributed. And I think this is applied to a project, a proposal that we win across the board. And we don't just email it to, the senior team, but actually we include those people who collaborated to make sure that everyone is acknowledged. So I think that should come through every time that something is win in a project or something is completed. We tend to acknowledge everyone.
Yeah, I mean, as an analyst, I won't most of the time send through anything to a client. It will be, of course, the project manager. But they will always reach out and thank you after you've done something. I've never felt that anyone above me, position-wise, has ever taken credit for anything that I've contributed to.
And so I want to move on and talk to you about the culture of the company. So in your own words, how would you describe the culture here at Lifescience Dynamics?
I think it's very diverse, open, and fair.
I would say it's a family company.
And why would you say it's a family company?
Because I started my family by being here, and I felt supported throughout. I got married, I had a kid, and I feel like people really supported me. I remember when I was pregnant and tired, and I didn't need to ask for help. People offered to help, which is very nice.
How about the rest of you?
I was going to say family company as well. I've only been here for 6 weeks, but then I just kind of, you look at people's interactions and you just kind of see a sense of familiarity, a sense of support, a sense of genuine care for each other. And you don't really see that in a lot of capitalist kind of corporations. So I think that was a unique selling point for Life Science. That's why I wanted to kind of join that.
So how does that make you feel, that culture?
It makes me feel safe. That may be a weird word to say, but I think when you're working, it's always, you can have that kind of fear of being replaceable, or you're not doing the work to a high standard. But here I just feel comfortable in that the work that I'm doing, if it isn't to a high standard, I will be kind of spoken to and kind of trained and supported to kind of do better. So I feel kind of very secure and comfortable when, in my first HR kind of role.
Mm-hmm. There's room to grow. So you're not pressured to fit a certain mold. Everyone grows in different ways, and there's always support from everyone. So the great thing about the company is there isn't a strong hierarchy. Everyone talks to each other, we're all equals, and you can reach out for help. Even now in the pandemic, we're not in the office anymore, but I can still message someone like, oh, by the way, do you know how to do this? Or can you give me some advice on this? And no one ever says no. So, everyone's open to helping each other.
And to what extent do you get the feeling that the leadership take care of you while you take care of the work?
I think sometimes it comes across very obviously because, just the fact that the boss reaches out to say, hey, how's it going? Can I help? Do you need any help? Should we bring more people to support with this? It just shows that they care to make sure that not only we're delivering good work, but that also they are making sure that we are doing okay and the work is manageable. And of course, we have challenges because maybe we need more people, or maybe we need to finish this project and it's late. But in the back, that someone is kind of caring and looking and, all right, what can we do better to maybe overcome those challenges? So I think it comes across as caring.
And I think it goes beyond that because we have, all of us, some budget that we can spend for our own training. So we can propose which training we want to do that year. So a person might have particular interest in develop more market access skills and propose to do a specific course, and the company will help with that, for example. So I think this is another thing. And then, we have more classic benefits the healthcare insurance and things like that. But we had really good packages compared to what is normally offered. We don't get the basic, we get something that is actually quite good. So,
What do you think that Lifescience Dynamics offers then that maybe the other companies don't?
well, I see what my husband, the cat, if it's another sector, is definitely not comparable, because in terms of health insurance and things like that. So I think maybe when you're young, you don't think about it, but like I'm now at the stage where, being a mom and everything, you are more conscious of these things and what can happen, and you want to be protected also in that sense. So I feel like we don't get the basic, maybe we get the premium, healthcare insurance, and that makes a difference in my opinion.
So you've sort of really answered my next question, but to sum up this sort of section on culture, the leadership team advertises Lifescience Dynamics as a family company, which most of you've mentioned spontaneously, but with a human heart and soul rather than a traditional corporate. And again, that's what I'm feeling you're communicating. To what extent would you say you agree with that statement then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Does anyone disagree with it? No. And you've given me reasons why you agree with it. Yeah. Okay. So does the leadership team live up to Lifescience Dynamics' core value of authenticity and genuineness, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. And this is because when we are coming to a client with a proposal for a new project, we don't tend to simply go with the standard model. And some projects, of course, there's no other way to do it. It's very standard what they need. Nonetheless, we always try to provide something extra, to think about like, all right, what else can we bring? What's the added value to this project? And I think even when we present this to the clients, we don't present it just as a sales pitch, but rather to see like, all right, let's discuss what you need, what we can offer. And if it's, if this is enough for you, otherwise we can go back and rethink on what we can offer. So I think it's a genuine approach to try to address what the client needs beyond just developing a standard solution across the board and do a sales pitch. So I think we aim to do that.
And then if you think about the leadership team as an entity, to what extent do you think they lead with a firm heart, or to what extent do they display high integrity and moral standards? Do you feel you have a voice? Are you listened to by the leadership team? Do they act on your suggestions? How do you feel about that leadership team?
I mean, from HR perspective and like within that kind of group, I think it is kind of difficult to juggle, obviously, the business's kind of goals and objectives with people's, because they quite usually don't coincide. People, for example, if they want to increase revenue, that would kind of equate to having more working hours, but that's not, putting your employees first. That's just trying to put the money first. So I think it's always been a battle between, trying to balance both of those priorities. But from what I have seen, it's a case of looking at everyone and taking their opinions and their circumstances and their situations into account. So for example, like you said, when you were going through your family and transitioning, it's a case of, okay, how can we kind of maneuver that to make not only the business kind of still stable, but then keep this employee and keep them happy and keep them supported, keep their well-being quite high. So I think with any company, you're going to have that kind of trade-off. But here we try and, if we have to kind of sacrifice one, it is a case of putting the people first, because you can't have a business without having good employees and having them feel satisfied and supported. So,
do the rest of you agree with that? Does anyone disagree with that?
No, I think it's always difficult. I mean, it's a running joke in the consulting world, right? That you're always working long hours, and it drives you and pushes you. And I think to come to a firm that balances it so well, where the leadership team is thinking about the trajectory of the company, and driving it where you want it to be, and bringing on new work, and there is that pressure to perform and do well. But I mean, I think we're all ambitious people, and we all want that. And the fact that is balanced with this aspect of family and caring, where you really feel heard. I mean, I can speak for Raquel as my line manager. When we have our meetings, it's frank, it's casual, it's comfortable. I feel like I can always go to her with anything. I think she is always honest with me, and I think that really reinforces how comfortable I feel in the company.
Okay, thank you for your feedback so far. I think we'll just take a 5-minute break and we'll get back and talk some more later. Okay, welcome back. Just to follow up on the last topic we were talking about, which was the leadership team, one thing I wanted to ask you was, do you all feel that you have unfettered access to the leadership team? How important is that? Or is there any hierarchy that you've got to go through?
No, I think just to start is the fact that anytime we can email, we can message directly, Rafat. So if there's something pressing that we need to discuss with him, we know that we can reach out to him. And surprisingly, he is available, most of the times to quickly have a chat. And so it's very nice to know that you can reach out at any point. And beyond that, we have these meetings regularly, whether it's every quarter or at least, twice a year, where the leadership teams goes through the objectives for the company, how the company is doing. And this is a chance for us to really ask questions about the objectives, about, the performance of the company, any next steps that the company is taking. So this is really an open forum for everyone. So I think it's a really good way for the team, the leadership team, to demonstrate that this is what we're doing, but we want to hear your input, and you feel that you have that opportunity at all times.
So that brings me on to talking to you about inclusivity. And from what you're saying, you all agree that you feel you can speak your mind freely to the leadership team. How do you feel about speaking your mind freely in front of colleagues?
I think it's fine, yeah. Everyone's friends.
Would you say the company considers the opinions and well-being of every employee when making company-wide decisions?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say so.
And how important is that?
I think it's important. That's why the steering committee was formed in the first place, because the company wanted to make sure that people's voices and opinions were actually being taken into account. So anytime the senior leadership team has a new strategy or a new idea, sometimes they'll take it through us at the steering committee as a sounding board, listen to our opinions, and then we'll give our input there. And if we maybe we don't like the idea, or we think maybe we should tweak things, they'll take that on board, and then they'll adjust it before they present it to the rest of the company. So there's that extra step there. And then, of course, as Alberto mentioned, whenever we have these sort of town hall meetings with the senior team, we can always ask questions, always a Q&A session. And, everyone's always open to discussing what they actually feel or what their opinions are.
I think the topic of the steering committee is important because we used to be much smaller, and we used to work in the office all the time pre-COVID. And Rafat used to come into the office and say hello to each one of us. And then also he used to travel and go to the other office in the US and do the same while he was over there. So everyone had the direct channel to Rafat, Of course, now we've grown so much, and also we work from home mostly because of COVID. And I think, since things have shifted, then the company has been really good at trying to find a solution for that. And this is the steering committee, so that everyone is heard. So, for example, Aziza, who is in the steering committee, everyone that is in her role can go to her anytime and bring, issues, ideas. They can also go to Rafat or any other person in the leadership team, but if they want something more formal or something that needs to be discussed that takes longer, there is also that. And for me, it's something that the company has done really well with, because they haven't lost I call the feeling of academia, because that's what I used to have in academia, being able to talk with everyone. And that's what I didn't want to lose when I moved from academia to Lifescience Dynamics.
Excellent. And how would you say the company fosters diversity? I know just from looking at the team here, you were just saying to me earlier on, you're Italian. We've got lots of different nationalities working here at Lifescience Dynamics. For example, how many different languages are spoken here? How many nationalities are represented, would you say, within Lifescience Dynamics?
I think we have 15 plus languages.
Probably more now.
Yeah, probably more now. Yes, and at least as many nationalities, I guess. sometimes I don't even know like how much people have traveled around, because also here in London, like of course it's very multicultural, but the company reflects it completely.
And what are the advantages and disadvantages then of working with people who have different educational backgrounds and come from different countries?
I think that diversity brings the different points of view, different perspectives, not just of the project that you're working on, but different perspectives on the world, on how you perceive things. So it's enriching, really, everything we do, even from a conversation point of view. We're having a coffee and then you can chat to someone from the completely different side of the world. So it's really enriching in that sense, both from the personal point of view, but also bringing value to the projects and the work that we do every day. So it's really valuable in that sense.
And how does the company recognise and appreciate the diversity of its people, would you say?
I mean, we celebrate pretty much all the holidays.
So all the feast days from different countries?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, from Diwali to Christmas, like everything really. For example, for me, having been born and raised in Italy, I mean, you can imagine I wasn't exposed to many different cultures growing up, but like here I got to learn like a lot of these things. I don't know, the Chinese New Year or whatever it is. And now it's actually coming in handy because at nursery with my child, they are celebrating all of them. And I feel like now I know them.
So it's broadening your education.
Definitely. Like I didn't have that growing up, but it's so nice. And then also all the birthdays. Like, again, when we are in the office, usually there is a cake and that it is very nice. Yeah. And we also have like an internal program that we use, to book holidays, etc., where all the birthdays pop up. So it's actually nice to see, other people and then people will wish you a happy birthday. So it's nice. We celebrate everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a internal LinkedIn / Facebook kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where you can kind of just post if you've had like team meetups or like events in your life, if you've got married or things like that, where the team can kind of just, get like congratulations and the support, because obviously you have offices in different locations. It's nice to be interconnected on that one platform.
And how important is it that the company, allows that spirit within the company?
I think like Alberto said, it's just the importance of kind of getting the insight of different perspectives as well. So you're getting different opinions of different people from different countries. Just kind of broadens your horizons, gives you more of a more open view of the world. So,
and it goes back to the family values. We wouldn't have that family feeling if we weren't open and diverse the way we are now.
And it helps with the work as well, because especially in market access, when we support different countries, many times we need to use our native language, or we help each other because maybe we're looking for information in Chinese. So I wouldn't know where to start, but I know whom to contact that can help me. So I want to talk to you about equality, justice and fairness. So equal treatment of all Lifescience Dynamic family members is one of the core principles followed by its founder, Rafat. How do you think it's implemented and followed in real life? Well, I think just, to give an example, just when we think of like promotions and, things like that, every twice a year we do the appraisals. I can't comment even more, but we do the calibration meetings, which means that, we put everyone under the same lens and, and we look at the people as a whole, with the opportunity that they had, no one is penalized if they didn't have an opportunity to do a specific task. Like we know it just didn't came up because they were busy doing something else. So I think like it's something that is not just done day to day, but is also done in terms of career progressions, etc. Like we really try to make things equal for everyone and for everyone to have opportunities. And often like, I know, like also for my direct reports, if like in the past 6 months, they didn't get the opportunity to do something that they really wanted to do, like HR is really aware of it and they will help me and the rest of the team to find a solution so that person can then, get to do that thing that really wants to do. So it is I think equality is really kept up by everyone. Yeah.
And do you feel, or to what extent do you feel, that your work and your contribution is valued the same way as that of other employees? Irrespective of what level you're at within the company.
I think it goes back to what you were saying, Alberto, that when someone does a good job, you're always thanked for it. It's not, no one tries to take credit for it. You'll have people, who send out an email to the whole company saying thank you to so-and-so for the fantastic work they did. And even on a, project level, if one of my analysts has done something great or they've, stepped up in a difficult time, I'll always make sure to thank them personally and also with the rest of the team. So, yeah, I think it kind of ties into that.
I mean, everything you're saying so far is really, really positive, and thank you for giving us that wonderful feedback. But if or when there are any disagreements or friction within the team or with your colleagues, do you feel like the leaders in the company actually help resolve these in a fair and just manner? Does that happen?
Very rarely, maybe. But if you do have an issue, you've always got your line manager to speak to. And like Adam was saying, he has a really good relationship with Raquel. I have a fantastic relationship with my line manager as well. We talk to each other frequently. I'd say, it's a strong friendship. It's not just a colleague relationship. So they've always got your best interest in their mind. And they'll do their best to make sure that any conflicts you have in a project, for example, or even in a internal initiative, they'll always do their best to resolve. And I'll go speak to HR. And if, HR can help out, maybe they can resolve it. And if not, in the worst case scenario, maybe it will get escalated to the senior team. But otherwise, I think most of the time people tend to resolve their issues, amongst each other.
I think issues might be external sometimes, but not necessarily internal. Like I feel like sometimes, it happens to have challenging clients. Mm-hmm. And I feel the senior leadership really understands that. If there is a project that is going through like a bad patch, let's say, no one is pointing fingers. They try to understand, okay, what is the client request? Why are we not meeting it? What's going on? How can we help? And because we do that, I think everyone naturally, raise the problems if there are any immediately, so they are small and they don't have the time to become big.
So I want to talk to you about empowerment, autonomy and freedom. On a typical workday, do you feel encouraged to take initiative and do things, or are you mostly told what needs to be done?
I think independence and freedom is one of the key drivers in the whole company, because we encourage the whole team to be independent. So I think from the beginning of a project, we know what needs to be done, and this is discussed across the whole team. But in the end, we don't really tend to micromanage and assign the specific tasks to each person, but rather we let everyone to drive, when it's possible, to even pick, what part of the project you want to do. And yes, we do have a team structure with a lead analyst and the project manager. But in the end, we try to let everyone in the team to drive their own role in the project. And I think this is not only something that we encourage, but it's something that we ask from everyone, because, of course, the more independent you are, the easier a project runs. And it's part of everyone's development, developing their independence and that confidence to deliver on their project. So it's something that we push for, we encourage people, and it's part of everyone's development across the projects. And in the same way that in a small team, we encourage this independence, I think in the whole company, we are giving that freedom to become independent, whether it's engaging with clients and leading proposals with potential new clients, and still being supported, whenever we need the help. So I think it's very obvious to feel that opportunity to become independent.
Mm-hmm. And Adam, you're probably the newest recruit out of people sitting here in the group discussion today. Do you feel that you've received, or to what extent do you feel that you've received adequate opportunity to interact with and present your work to the client? Or is that not allowed early on in your experience in the company?
Well, of course, first starting off, I'm not going to be private messaging the client whenever I want. I think that the management team or whatever project managers that you're on are very quickly able to realize your abilities, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. And I think you are quickly given the opportunity to interact with a client on some level, whether that be presenting a small aspect of some sort of work that you've collaborated on, or presenting a larger part. And really, if they're able to provide questions as well and you're able to answer, I think that's where having dialogue with the client, I think, is where you really start to grow as a person and as an analyst. And I think that is actively encouraged where it can be, because I think LSD does want analysts to go, and when you reach the consultant level, I mean, that's what they want of you. They want you to be able to freely and effectively interact with clients. And so the sooner you encourage that, the more effective someone will become at it.
And at the level of analyst, do you ever feel that you might face adverse consequences for speaking up in a team meeting or in front of a client? Or is that actively encouraged?
I think, of course, there's a time and a place for everything. I'm not going to voice discontent in front of a client. I think that's consulting 101. Yeah, you're not going to come out and do that. But at the same time, that being said, I always do feel like, post or pre-meeting, I can message or speak to, if it's a fellow analyst or the project manager, to voice my opinion, to say how something should be done. And whether or not that happens as it does, of course, is on a case-by-case basis. But I think there is always that openness, I think, that we've been saying that there is, and that sort of importance that every voice is heard.
Mm-hmm. And for all of you, in terms of your learning and growth, what comes to mind when you think about how you've grown as a professional since joining the company?
Well, this was my first kind of administrative role since graduating uni in July last year. So it was I was learning on the role, learning a lot of things. And I think that's the best way to kind of know your weaknesses in a sense. So I was doing the work and I would look at it and be like, okay, I need to be more on top of this. I need to increase my organization for these type of things. I need to be able to kind of stay on top of this kind of aspects of the work. So it was kind of learning on the job, of course, getting the support from my manager as well, but being able to kind of make the role my own and kind of handle it in the way that I know I can handle it best, and then kind of develop and improve it from there. So there's a lot of autonomy, a lot of space to grow in the role.
And how easy was it for you, joining Lifescience Dynamics straight out of university? How easy or hard was that transition from university to a professional career here? And how did Lifescience Dynamics help you with that?
I think in any organization, it's going to be quite a bit of a difference between uni and coming into a corporate environment. But then again, the freedom and the autonomy that I had to kind of make the role work best for me. So I didn't have to, for example, use the same folders or organizational systems that the previous person had in the role. I could kind of completely restructure it to make it work for the way that I could do it most effectively. So in that sense, it was kind of the same in uni, in that I could do the work and kind of make it work best for me. So I was given a lot of support in terms of what needs to be done, but I was also given the autonomy in that you need to do this, but you can do it in the way that works best for you. Mm-hmm. So I really appreciated that about the company.
And how about the rest of you? To what extent do you feel that Lifescience Dynamics has provided you with both the right opportunities and support for you to grow in your current role and advance in your career?
Yeah, I think from the beginning, when you join, of course, you go through a period of onboarding, of learning everything that you are going to be doing on an everyday basis, on how things are done here. But once you pass that period, the more you develop the basic skills, you are trusted with more responsibilities. And I think that just shows the interest on pushing you to learn new things, but also it gives you those opportunities. Because we don't have a very rigid structure like in a bigger company with a large hierarchy, but rather you're trusted with more responsibilities, like line managing, like managing projects, and then being involved in direct communications with the client or engaging clients. So I think all of those elements is part of the company not only trusting you, but also encouraging you to learn those skills and developing those parts of your career. So I think it's actively, or I will even say passively encouraged, because it just feels natural. Like it doesn't feel pushed, but just feels like it's natural.
And so to what extent then do you feel that your time at Lifescience Dynamics will position you well for a fulfilling and rewarding career later in life?
I think it provides a really strong foundation because you build on like the knowledge, so you understand the spaces, the therapy areas. Maybe over time you'll develop a niche and you'll find one area or a few areas that you really like and you'll focus on that. But then there's also the other skills like the project management, the confidence, I'd say, because it takes a lot of confidence to speak to clients and feel comfortable speaking to them and managing them and dealing with any issues that come up. And then there's the time management. There's lots of different elements. So I feel like in the future, whatever path you take, you'll be well prepared for whatever that career will entail.
Excellent. And we've talked about some of the fun things that you do. And you've talked about celebrating various Diwali, birthdays, I assume Christmas parties you have here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm aware that there's an off-site retreat like Cape Cod or Bodrum. I don't know if any of you have been.
I was unlucky. I joined after the holidays.
So you missed out on that. So thinking about all the various social interactions you've had here at Lifescience Dynamics, which would you say are the most credible or most memorable ones that you've had?
Well, I was the Cape Cod trip. That was a memorable one. I just joined when we went there. So actually...
So can you tell me anything about that? Why did you particularly like that?
Well, first of all, I like just the fact that they were considering me to go, because I didn't even started on the job that I got an email asking, for my passport and everything, because we were going to have the trip. So, I mean, I didn't, that was a company retreat because we met the target from the previous year. So I was just amazed that they were going to take me. But beside that, we usually have, when we do this type of retreat, our mid-year or year planning. So there will be part of it that are meeting with the team, etc. But the company will also organize a lot of nice activities, like we went out with a boat to see the whales, for example. So, of course, it's something that I have never done before. And then there are amazing bonding opportunities, because for me, for example, with that company retreat, I got to meet everyone in the company, also all the people that were in the States, because everyone was invited. So it was really nice because immediately you feel part of the community. So that's definitely a memorable one.
And now that the pandemic is beginning to recede and, you're all back in the office again, what are you most looking forward to doing with your Lifescience Dynamics family outside of work?
I think just bonding together in person rather than on Teams. Yeah, we try as much as we can virtually, but it's not the same as going to dinner or having drinks together after work, or even just having lunch together during the day, and you can just talk about things that are not work related.
I hope we will resume some of the activities that we had before, for example, there were people going for a run at lunchtime or together. Not that I ever joined personally, but there were also these sort of things. And yes, the dinners, the drinks, but also other occasions, just to go to the theater together and things like that. So a lot going on, or maybe go buy lunch and have lunch all together. And I think Pizza Friday is on at the moment.
Okay. And so I know we've got to wrap up. I've probably got about 2 or 3 minutes left. So I want to ask you in particular, because you're the mum in our group here with a young baby. I want to find out, how does the company support you to balance those demands of motherhood with those of your work?
So I felt very supported during maternity leave, because I have to say no one bothered me for anything. They just let me be, to the point that someone was like, okay, guys, tell me what's going on, because I really want to be involved. But, very respectful of my time. Very respectful also of the fact that I'm a mom. I mean, I can only thank Alberto and Aziza, both of them, that they work heavily with me. They always know that I need to pick up my son from nursery at some point, or I need to feed him dinner. And they're like, Raquel, please go. I'll finish this off. I'll send it to the client again. It's so nice that I don't have to ask, and I can see that they genuinely do it because they know that can help. And it's so nice. It's so nice. I have done something similar before when I didn't have the kid. And now I can't give back to that people, but it's nice that, I find someone that is willing to do something for me.
And what do you think about the company's maternity leave and benefits policy? And did that fit with your needs during this period, would you say?
Yeah, I would say so. I also I had my child pre-COVID, so everyone was in the office. But for me, it became really difficult to travel to central London in the last month of pregnancy. And actually, it was a suggestion from HR to say, well, why don't you just work from home? So they were very attentive to this type of things as well. So I feel, supported in the sense. And then, as I said, the maternity leave was good, and a good maternity leave as well.
Excellent. And then last question to everybody is, if there was one thing you would like to see change here at Lifescience Dynamics or be improved upon, what would you say it is? And I'm just going to go round to each person, but a very, very quick answer, because I know we've got to finish. So can I start with you?
I think probably we just need to get a bit better in terms of how we are resourcing. And of course, we need more people to join us. And then we just need to find a better way of maybe assigning the right people to the right projects. I think this is something that we struggle in a sense that we're finding ways, and we're still thinking about what's the best approach. I don't think there's one right answer, but we first need to bring the right people in, and then we need to think, all right, how can we design the teams for each project better? And I think that's going to really make everyone's life easier, because we're going to be more efficient. We're going to have a better balance across the board. And we already try hard to achieve that. But of course, that can be improved.
Adam.
Yeah, I think as a company, we're in a transitionary period from a smaller company to a more medium-sized company. I think when that happens, there's always difficulty in striking a balance, as Alberto has said, between growth internally and then also as well bringing in growth in terms of projects as well. And so I think that is going to be a test moving forward within the next few years. And so it will be a challenge, and I think it will be a challenge for all of us, and something that we'll have to sort of work out on various levels.
And Aziza?
Well, I mean,
Anything
Alberto
else?
and Adam stole my answers.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, no, I was just going to reference, we are, again, as Adam said, we're going through a transition period. We're kind of going through a growth period. So there are some growing pains associated with that. So any sort of improvement on the resourcing, the workload, maybe getting more people, as Alberto suggested, so that things are a bit more balanced for everyone. But that's a work in progress, hopefully.
Thank you. And Noyem?
I think similarly to them on the more admin side of things, the people are great. I love my role responsibilities. I think just being able to delegate some responsibilities more would kind of make me able to, first of all, do my job more effectively, and then also make sure that it's the whole role is covered more. So that would be my one thing.
And Raquel?
I agree with them. I would phrase it as we need a bit more structure, maybe some aspects that we are already working towards. We need to be good at bringing that in while maintaining, the family culture and the opportunities. And I feel so far the company has done great because, as I said, I already witnessed quite a big growth, and I think we have done well. And of course, there is more to come, but I have full confidence that we will do very well again. We might have those 2-3 months of adjustment, but then, past that, I'm sure we will be fine.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, all of you, for participating and being so open and honest as well. Thank you.